The views on this page do not necessarily represent the views of Mac News 144. Mac News 144 is committed to keeping this page an open platform for all Israel. Thank you all for subscribing and submitting your videos to macnews144@gmail.com. We have grown to over 100 subscribers, so we can begin to stream live praises to the Most High.
Were you raised Catholic?
Yes, sir.
Because I was also. And that's the image that's pushed in the so-called Catholic Church. This image right here, which was an actual man that lived by the name of Caesar Borgia. He was son of what? Pope Alexander VI.
Pope Alexander, right? Rico Borgia, that's right.
That's right. He was actually a pope. And you know, what do people call the pope? They call it the Holy Father, right?
Right.
So if he's the Holy Father on earth, that would make his son the son of the Holy Father, which is all blasphemy, because the scriptures tell you, call no man father. When you go to church, what do they call the priest? Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. That's against the scripture. Right. You're not supposed to call him Father. Right. You only have one Father, and he's in heaven.
Right.
You see? So I'm saying that to say this. Everything, because I was raised Catholic, like I said, everything that we learned in that so-called Catholic church, this brother too, it's all off, man. It's not according to this truth. It's not according to the truth of the Bible, man. And what's cold, you go to the Catholic church, the majority of that mass is preached out of what's called a missalette. They read out the missalette. Not only that, they have you praying to Mary.
That's it.
Virgin Mary. Or I know down in South America they big on the Virgin de Guadalupe.
Right.
Yeah, which is all really go back to Semiramis. That's just right here. Semiramis. An ancient deity. Go ahead, bro.
You can get your ashes Wednesday?
Go ahead.
You did?
I grew up, but I don't practice it.
Oh, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's cool.
Them ashes, putting ashes on your forehead, that's showing respect to a pagan god, the Nordic god of Odin.
Right.
You know, that's ensuring that you get protection from the god of Odin. Putting ashes on your forehead, ashes on your eyebrows.
Right.
Yeah.
That's nowhere in the scriptures, man.
Nowhere in the scriptures.
Very interesting.
You know,
Now,
in the scriptures they show repentance by putting ashes on their head and renting their clothes, but and as far as putting, what's that? Matthew 6 and 15. I think it's 15. When you fasted, mark.
Oh yeah. You're not supposed to show that outwardly.
That's right.
That's all supposed to be something between you and the Heavenly
And when
Father.
you supposed to repent every day. And they picked this certain one day to show repentance. And
16.
Yeah, 16.
There's a lot of double standards.
Yeah, that's why we're not supposed to follow religion anyway. Go ahead, bro.
That's a myth.
Contrary to popular belief, this is not a book of religion. It's a book of laws, statutes, and commandments for the Israelites. The Israel is a people before it's a place. So when you hear the word Israel, don't think about those people in the Abraham Lincoln hats. You know what I'm saying? Those are not the real Jews, man. We're the real tribe of Israel, man. So-called Negro, Latino, and Native American. Us. You know what I'm saying? So just know that.
Right.
Just know that.
All right, man. Hey, matter of fact, read that out. All right? Bring that Matthew 6 out.
Matthew 6 and 16.
Moreover. I'm sorry. Boy, if you ain't getting the pass, Jack.
Right.
Y'all having you get a monkey, the red file monkey. You go through here, you getting condemned. Shit. It ain't got a stitch of jewelry on. Probably shop in Walmart for clothes.
No, that ain't nice.
That shit is not the same. The year the fucking fire monkey.
The red fire monkey.
what the fuck is a fire monkey?
I don't have a clue.
That monkey is burning, man.
Shit.
This is Matthew 6 and 16.
Boy. That's bad, bro. But at the least, they do keep the lunar calendar. I'll give them that. Shit. Better than you niggas.
Oh, shit.
Go ahead, bro.
Matthew 6 and 16. Woo! Moreover, when ye fast, be not as the hypocrites,
of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces, that they may appear unto men to fast.
You want to break it down?
Verily, I say unto you, they shall have their reward.
Jacob out like
Okay, shit. You don't see me?
That's it.
Oh, this, I'll tell you what I gave up for Lent. I gave up watermelon for Lent.
Right.
Going to the club for Lent.
Right. I stopped drinking for a week.
I gave up eating meat. I gave up eating pork for Lent. But
Gee.
soon as Lent is over,
Hey, it's a wrap.
fat chops.
Hey,
Back in.
pork chop, bacon, spam, and ham.
God.
Hey, the motherfuckers go, hey, a triple pork sandwich, man. Bacon, spam, some goddamn ham.
Hey, your bacon.
Right.
They got down spam for some goddamn reason.
Hey, I elevate that shit.
That's the worst of it, man. Hey, man, you know, when they come up with some shit like spam, man, that means they're like, man, put that goddamn hoof in there, man.
Whatever.
Fry that shit up in there. Hey, don't wash it, just put it in there, man.
You fuck with spam?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Hey,
I know it,
we
bro.
had to too, man, and I used to be in that bitch, slicing that motherfucker and making it sure the edges get crispy in that goddamn spam. While I'm frying. I like it. Hey, I mean, like, Mom, that ain't the right way to do it. You gotta make sure the edges are crispy on that.
I did eat the potted meat, but I never ate the spam.
Body beef, bro. What was it? And them little brown sausage, breakfast sausage, bro, they come with
Like the little cocktail wings.
yeah, hey, bro.
That was some bullshit.
Shit, that was whatever was left on the floor.
They were pig hooves and pig teeth and jawbone and shit. They grind up.
Jowl.
What it is. But like I say, the putting on the ashes on the head, that represented, you know, that was ensuring.
She like that picture. That's him. That's him.
You know, from the Norse guy. You know, you giving praise to the Norse
She
guy.
like that.
Right.
Hey, go ahead, give us some more, huh?
Yeah.
Odin is the it's Thor's
That's right.
it's Thor's dad.
And they did that on Wednesday.
Yeah.
They did that ritual on Wednesday, showing praise to the God of Odin. And so they you know, like I say, so they try to justify it from in the scriptures whenever they would repent and throw the ashes and the dirt on their head and rent their clothes. They try to justify it for that.
Yeah.
But you know,
No, sir.
these people were showing repent every day. They weren't just picking one particular day. And like you say, they were putting the ashes on their head. They wasn't putting it on their face, on their eyebrows.
Right. Like a little
Between your
cross.
eyebrows. That's right.
Wickedness.
I remember them days. Shit. You get home 2-3 days, you ain't washing your face because you don't want to wash off your ashes. You trying to hold on to that shit.
Damn.
After you done touched Michael Jackson's hand, huh? You don't even want to wash it.
I never washed this hand again.
God damn, I ain't good for the Catholic Church, but brother saying it, I'm trying to picture that in my mind. I can see Jake
Because the other day, on so-called last Wednesday, I was riding, I pulled up to Walmart or damn well, Kroger. I pulled up to the store. There was a bitch sitting in her car, and I saw the black smudge on her head. I was like, damn, this bitch got a tattoo right slap dab in the middle of her head. Then I kind of looked closer. I was like, oh shit, oh that's ashes, ain't Ash Wednesday. I forgot about this shit, man.
That's right. I used to go get that shit faithfully.
Yeah,
Every year.
we had to.
Yep.
You ain't got your ashes yet?
Tammuz, so the story goes, was gored to death by a wild boar in a hunting accident when he was 40 years old. The 40 days of weeping for Tammuz was instituted one day for each year of his life, in which sun god worshippers would deny themselves a pleasure in this life for the sake of Tammuz's pleasure in the afterlife. When Tammuz's mother died many years later, the exalted Queen of Heaven was sent back to earth by the gods on the first Sunday after the vernal equinox. Nimrod's wife arrived in a giant egg which landed in the Euphrates River and broke open to allow her to emerge, reincarnated as the bare-breasted goddess of sexual desire, Easter. To proclaim her divinity, Easter changed a bird into an egg-laying rabbit. In this dingy Hinnom Valley Tammuz cave, the occult priest would impregnate virgins on the altar of Easter at the Easter sunrise service, and a year later they sacrificed those 3-month-old infants on the same altar and dyed Easter eggs in the blood of those sacrificed babies. To this day, one Christian denomination only allows their Easter eggs to be dyed a single specific color, blood red. They have no idea how the tradition started or what it rehearses. But now you know. Easter Sunday is now the day that culminates the 40 days of weeping for Tammuz, called by many Lent. On this day, entire denominations continue a tradition of slaughtering the wild boar that killed Tammuz and eating ham on Easter Sunday. There is one date that I assure you Yahshua did not rise from the grave, Easter Sunday. Frequently, Easter and Passover are an entire month apart. Why? They represent the worship of two different gods. Easter is celebrated according to a pagan sun god calendar. Passover is celebrated according to the observance of the biblical new moon and the ripening of the barley in the land of Israel. Yahshua kept the feast of Passover. All of the rehearsals that were embedded in that feast were fulfilled the year of his death and resurrection. He was the final Passover sacrifice. His sinless blood paid the price for our redemption. On the other hand, Easter is a rehearsal of child sacrifice and fertility rites of pagan sun god worshippers. Which celebration should you keep? That depends on which god you serve. It's your choice. But now you understand why the Holy One instructs us. Do not learn the way of the heathen and how they worship their gods and then do the same to me. It is an abomination. Christmas and Easter are not the celebrations of the birth and resurrection of Yahshua of Nazareth, but the watered-down continuation of child sacrifice festivals that were hatched in Babylon 2,000 years before his birth. We all recognize that the pagan calendar, which has been adopted by the Christian world, names every day of the week and nearly every month of the year after a pagan god or fallen angel. But many are surprised to see that the 4th month on the modern Jewish calendar is named after the pagan god Tammuz. In direct violation of the Torah, thou shalt not allow the names of other gods to come out of your mouth. I only speak the names of pagan gods for the same reasons that the prophets of Israel spoke their names, to expose the sick, twisted traditions that we have inherited from our disobedient ancestors. Religious schemes have been fabricated by the mind of man that have nothing to do with how God desires to be worshipped. Pop Christian culture adorns itself with the latest hip Jesus apparel and jewelry that asked, WWJD, what would Jesus do? But seldom opens the scriptures to find out. Yahshua found the place where it was written, said what was written, and did what was written. He did not make up his own theology as he went along. He always obeyed the Torah and said that the Father seeks those who would worship him in spirit and in the truth that was written in stone over 3,400 years ago. When we are ignorant of his instructions, we naturally slip back into Babylonian sun god worship, while we say we are doing it for him. Israel expressed the same ignorance of God's ways when we built a golden calf and said, tomorrow is a feast to Yahweh. He was absolutely furious. He wanted to incinerate us all. Occasionally I hear the emotionally charged defense, that is not what Christmas and Easter mean to me. But I don't care what they mean to you. I don't worship you. The Almighty says that it is an abomination to him. Just as the Almighty told Abraham in Genesis, he tells those living at the end of the age in the book of Revelation, come out of Babylon. Yeah! Throughout this series, we will be exploring the Hebrew Scriptures, both Testaments, from an Hebraic or Jewish perspective. The Great Commission was to the Jew first, and the Jewish disciples gave their lives to spread the good news of the Messiah to the Gentile world. We are going to let the Jews interpret the Scriptures that the Jews have written, And I promise to give ample time to allow the Gentiles to interpret all the scriptures that the Gentiles have written. I'm Michael Rood, inviting you to join us again next time for A Rude Awakening. And I'll see you when the smoke clears.
The Mac, it's 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 the Mac.